Hi, hello. It's Amber, and I'm here today to share a little bit of playtime on this larger, longer block. As you can see, it's more of a landscape shape here, and I'm going to tape it off. And I'm going to break it up into windows or sections so that we can play with different textures and different colors and see where it goes. And you can do it either way you like. You can treat this as one painting, which I end up doing, or you can break it down into 4 pieces. Again, this isn't necessarily meant for you to follow exactly to a T. I create most of these things to maybe inspire you or to show you ideas or to spark interest in doing something, or maybe for you to pick up some colors you haven't used in a while, or to pick up a paintbrush that you're like, oh, I didn't know what this was for. Oh, let me try it here, right? I'm here to kind of just share ideas, and hopefully this will spark something in you, whether you do these four little window pieces or you do it as one. It's totally and completely up to you. You can follow along, of course, and do what I'm doing here, or again, you can go out on your own and branch out and do what you like. So really, it's all open. I don't expect anything in particular from you. I'd still love to see what you create, whether you follow along, whether you do your own thing. I love to see it all, and that's really what it's all about for me. So I'm just going to finish taping these off. What I do with my tape is I always do the horizontal ones first, or one or the other, or all my horizontal tapes and then my vertical tapes. So I grabbed my Tintoretto Magneto brush, and I'm just going to loosely put some color across the page as a horizon line-ish, right? Maybe they're mountains, maybe it's horizon, maybe it's rolling hills, I'm not sure. And then I'm just going to drop in some colors, some purples and some pinks for some sky. I'm not going to call out particular colors here. These are Cosmic Creation handmade watercolor paints, and I do really, really love them. I use them a lot. I use these in Masha's pretty much every day, and then I have some other handmade makers that I really love their paints as well, so I use them too. I have been lately, honestly, staying away from more commercial brands. I really, really am loving handmade paints lately. It's so awesome to be able to support somebody that makes something in their home with love and care, and you talk to them, you get to know them. So anyway, I'm just throwing color in here for the sky, keeping it loose, keeping it abstract, not really having a set goal here. I don't have anything in mind. There's no vision, right? You don't have to sit down with a vision necessarily. If you need to, that's fine too. If you want a reference, you can grab a reference. I don't have a reference here, and I don't have a vision. I'm just seeing where the colors lead me, where it takes me, what happens, and trying to go with that and see what I can create out of what's happening now, right? Instead of trying to predict what I'm going to do or force myself to do something that I don't know how it's going to work, right? So I decide that these are going to be mountains, and so I'm taking my nice new mop brush. I love this brush. I can't say enough things about it, how much I love it. And I'm just kind of creating those slopes and those kind of rugged lines, and hoping that that will all sort of fall into place with the paint and the brush and the water without me doing too much. And I'm going a little darker now here. I'm trying to leave some white space so that we have some depth, right? Can't have light without the dark, can't have dark without the light. And so I'm hoping to keep some of it. I just ran over a part that I really liked, but that's okay. I did add some color in that left-hand corner that I didn't care for. So now I'm going to cover it up with this green, this darker green. I think this is it leaf green or spruce? It's something. It's a green from my Cosmic Creations greens. She's got a lot of great greens, and I'm using that one. I usually mix them up a little bit with something, so if you see me bounce from one color to another, it's just grabbing more color. I often just mix on the paper, more often I mix on the palette, but sometimes I'll just grab 2 colors on my brush and go for it from here. I'm going to add some trees. This brush has a great little tip, but I am going to switch not too long from here. So you'll see that I have a few brushes off to the side, and those were just there as options. Doesn't mean that I'm going to use them. Doesn't mean you have to have them or use them either. It doesn't mean you have to follow along. You can do what you like. You can treat this as one, like I said before, or you can treat these as 4 separate vignettes, pictures, whatever you want to do. You're not locked into following what I do or the color choices I make. And if you don't like this type of green, you can add a touch of orange into it. You can make your own green. Obviously, the possibilities are endless, and that's what I love so much about watercolor and this journey, is that we can all sit down and say we're going to create the same thing, right? You can sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to paint with Amber today, and this is what I'm going to paint. I'm going to paint her little scene because I liked it, or maybe I'd like something else she did, and so I'm going to paint this, and I want it to turn out a certain way. Well, the odds are, let's be realistic, right? It's not going to. Mine rarely do, and that's the joy, and that's the invitation for you to be like, okay, I need to find my own. I'm going to do my own. I'm going to think of how I want to take it, or where I want to take it, and where I'm going to be led, right? Because more often than not, we are led somewhere with this journey, right? We're rarely are we like, okay, I'm going to sit out and do this. I'm going to sketch this. It's going to be perfect. Sure, there are some people that are amazing at it. I'm not one of those people. So if that's what you need, I've got plenty of people. We can find plenty of people for you. I wish I was. It's just not my part of my adventure. And that's okay for now. Maybe it will be in the future. So I am taking this Winsor & Newton calligraphy brush my friend got me, and I am dry brushing these mountains. And dry brushing is a super important thing to learn. And if you need to learn more about it, there's plenty of YouTubes that can teach you how to dry brush. But basically, you're finding the balance between a drier brush, less water in your pigment. So basically you're taking a drier, not dry, right? A wet brush that is mostly, the water's pulled off of it, but there's still water in it, and you're getting the right amount of pigment on your brush. And so it's kind of brushing along the surface of your paper and leaving the lighter or white space underneath, letting it come through too, right? So there's roughness on your paper, and you are just brushing over that paper so that the divots, the lower areas of the paper, are staying light. Right? That's all it is. And so, my apologies if you're like, yeah, we knew that. But if you were wondering, if there's anybody new watching going, I just don't understand what dry brushing is. But it does take a minute to try to figure it out, because often you'll have too much water on your brush, or the paint will have too much water in it already. So this is one instance where it is more useful usually to use it off the pan versus mixing it in your palette, right? Because usually when you're mixing your palette, you end up with too much water. But not always. You can make it happen. You can make anything happen. We can always make things happen and always change it up. And if it doesn't work, try something else. It's not a big deal. It's just paper. We have 19 other pieces below this one, and we can purchase more. So if you have a block like this, I think it's really cool, because potentially, say we have 20 pieces of paper. I'm not sure we do. Say we have 20 pieces of paper, but I just broke that one into 4 other pieces. So that's a lot more pieces of paper than we thought we had, right? That's 80 pieces versus just 20. So if you're afraid you're going to waste paper, or you're like, oh, I don't want to use my 100% cotton on that, even if you divide this in half, you still have, 2 times 20, right? 2 times 20 is 40. So you have 40 pieces of paper, and that's 20 more, double more, right, than you had if not cutting in half. It's also very cool to use it as a long piece of paper. You know me, I paint really small. So for me, dividing this up is just natural for me and minis. So I did switch to a Princeton. I think this is a size 0. I think I have a size 0 and a 5/0. This is a size 0, and I'm trying it out for trees. I actually don't end up loving it for trees. This is a brush I got on a whim, and I haven't really loved it yet. The 5/0 I really like for birds, but I still reach for my silver brush, which is half squirrel and half synthetic, which doesn't thrill me, because if you know me very well, I don't love to use animals on my brushes. And I got that brush before I realized that they used animals, especially squirrel. So yeah, I prefer to avoid that if at all, not at all possible. I prefer to avoid that. I will avoid that. I will not, you won't see me, using any leather products, whether they're gifted or I purchase them, or, as much as I possibly can. I can't search out every single paint, so I don't use oxgal, which is an animal byproduct or animal product in my paint. So, there's always something that slips by, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And also paper has gelatin at times, so I don't always have vegan paper either. So I am not perfect, nor am I vegan. I just try to be mindful of my choices, and when there's alternatives, I prefer to use those. So I am splattering. You will notice that I love splattering lately, especially with shimmers, metallics, any kind of fun stuff like that. I'm using cosmic shimmers to kind of drop in some, what I just like to refer to as my little floral foregrounds, and that's just splatter. I'm not sure why I even try to get really detailed there, but I did. I wanted to drop in some bigger ones, and so I'm just trying to give my foreground a little bit of liveliness, because I didn't feel like this piece was very much. I was just kind of, I don't know, I hadn't messed with this block in a while, and I just thought this would be a fun little thing to do. These little windows, I love doing them, and I love seeing where it leads me. I love to see where it leads you if you try these. And you can also do it on more of a square block, and you can get, stack them on each other so that you're doing more of a, horizontal, like in a row, in a line, like 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. You can do it long ways like this. There's no real rules to this. You can do whatever you like. So I'm just going to add some depth through the corners and darkness on the bottom. I do like to add dark on my foreground lower area, and I feel like that just kind of frames in the pieces. And so I'm just going to go along the edge and just drop in some more color. Often I'll just use my green and maybe add a little bit of a charcoal-like color to it, or, really whatever you like. And so there you can see my splatters. I zoomed in a little bit more for you. You can see my dry brushing on my mountains. I'm adding some trees. I'm using, there's my silver brush. That's what I'm using this for. So the silver brush script liner has more of a belly, which so does my Polina Bright rigger. And so riggers and liners for me kind of go, I guess, hand in hand. I'm not sure if they really do, but they feel very similar to me. Both have a belly that hold more water and more paint, so you can get a little longer. For these trees, you're not re-dipping every second. I think I usually have to dip twice for each tree. If they're small enough, maybe not so much. But it was a little empty without the trees, and maybe I should have just stopped and called it and let it be very simple. But you know me, I got to practice my tree, so I just keep adding tree after tree after tree. And I'm trying to go darker and darker with each layer so that I can add a little bit of that depth, right? Because it does feel kind of flat to me. The sky was kind of just pretty simple. The mountains were super basic, right? I mean, there is light and dark value in those, but it's kind of light. Well, I guess there's like 3 values in those mountains, maybe. Just super light, a little bit of medium, and some dark there. And the foreground, again, I didn't go very intricate with that or very detailed. So I guess I felt like I needed to do some more detail here. And so that's why I'm adding these trees. And trees. They just take practice. The line down the middle, the dancing back and forth from side to side, that for me, the faster I go, the better. The more I think about it, the worse I do. I can watch people paint trees all day. I can watch people like Jackie Peacock and Sable, the magical Sable, magical tree lady, and they both just do amazing trees. And I'm not there yet. I hope to be there one day, but I'm not. And so I just keep painting them and keep trying, and I will keep trying until I get there. And it may be, I don't know, 6 months from now, and it may be 3 years from now, but eventually I'll get there, and I'm very determined to get there. So one day you will be seeing me paint just the most amazing trees ever. Until then, I will just keep trying my little heart out in painting those trees over and over and over. For me, the best thing I can advise you to do is try all the different brushes, try all the different tutorials, right? There was no magic one for me. That was just, this is it. This worked for me. This brush works for me every time. It doesn't. There'll be a brush that works for me like 2 weeks straight, and next thing I do, I use it, and I'm like, nope, I can't paint with this brush at all. Whether it's the amount of water I have or the pigment, the paints I'm using, I don't know. The mood I'm in, who knows? But just, or my mind over things, so many different factors play into that for me, that sometimes I just don't realize that I just got to pick up another brush. And, well, I usually do realize it right away. My trees are just looking too shabby. I try a different brush. And that's why often you'll see me mixing it up so much, because it just feels off. And, once you switch to shimmers also, sometimes things will feel off. But really, I just can't reiterate how much of a good practice this is to just get in those tree after tree after tree shapes. To get your mind relaxed, and to get your hand relaxed, and to stop overthinking the shape so much, and just go with whatever is happening in the moment, and just trying all the things you've learned before in other tutorials and other ways, and things you've tried that do and don't work. So again, I'm going even darker now to just help this, or I'm hoping. It may not. In the end, it's okay if it's not like something that's really well liked or loved, because I'm not sure that I really liked it, and so I don't expect you to like it. So when you see me trying to place these trees, you'll see that I am trying to leave certain areas clear. Like to the left of this whole section, I've kind of like that it's empty like that. I kind of like some of the light in the other areas, so I am clustering these trees kind of funny. And let's be honest, trees are often clustered together anyway, right? And so again, I always say this in all my videos, but trees don't have to be perfect. Nature's not perfect. And people aren't going to be zeroing in on each tree and analyzing each tree that you've painted. So you can kind of let go, be loose, and practice your shapes. I am a little sad I covered up that. Do you see that like little road looking line, white space right there? I'm not sure why I did that. But I did, and here we are. And so, just be aware of what you're covering up in your own. I did want to get rid of some of that white space above the horizon line, or rather the land line, I guess we should say, because maybe that's not the horizon necessarily. And so you did see me add that darker one in there, and I'm just keep thinking about where I'm adding, but I'm trying not to overthink because imperfection is perfectly fine. It's a suggestion, right? We are suggesting these trees. We are suggesting the idea of a forest. We are suggesting the idea of this nature scene, and it doesn't have to look like mine. It doesn't have to look like a picture you've seen. It can look like something in your head, out of your head. I can't personally see visions in my head, so if you tell me to picture a mountain and a meadow with, yellow poppies, I can't do that. If I've seen it in real life, I can kind of conjure that memory up, but I can't picture something, an apple on a blue checkered table. I can't, blue checkered tablecloth. I can't do that. Nothing comes to mind. It's kind of a blank slate in there. It's dark. It's weird. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is. And so for me, all I can rely on is past experiences. Like I said, I can pull those memories up, and I can pull those sort of visions up, like a picture, like a still picture in my head, but I can't like envision a whole scene in my mind. I try, and I wish I could, but it doesn't happen for me. And so if you are like me, and maybe you just go on intuition versus reference or something you see, it's okay too. It's okay. Whatever works for you, however your mind works, however your visions work, however they don't work, go with, honestly, what works with for you. Take what works, leave the rest. Sometimes you leave it all, sometimes you take it all, right? And that's okay. That's all okay. Okay, adding more splatter in hopes to just add a little bit more something. I thought the sky was empty, so I had to add some birds. And so I'm just going to do very, very light birds. I'm not going to use too much paint or pigment. I'm going to water down my paint pretty well so that it's just more of a hint of bird than anywhere else. And I'm just going to scatter them across the sky in no particular order. If you like order, you can do, formations. You can do certain shapes. You can do, just the arc across the whole thing. I went too dark, so often I'll just dab it off with a paper towel or a cloth, and no big deal, right? It's not a big deal. You can just go in there and see. Now I think I'm going to erase it or at least lighten it up. And again, I'm not going for perfection, so these little errors are okay. And now I'll let this dry, and I'll actually just paint my bird right over it. And, it's fine. And if I don't, that's fine too. I'm just trying to let you know that everything's okay. It's just paper, and we can try again and again. Or if you don't like it, you don't have to try again. Maybe it'll spark some other invitation or idea or thing that you want to try instead. And you'll go off and do that, and it'll be fine. But if you do paint something, I would absolutely love to see it. Find me on Instagram if you haven't already. That's where I am the most active. I've been trying to post a video a week here. I missed last week with the holiday. It's really threw me off, even though we don't technically, as a family, celebrate Thanksgiving. It still did seem to have a, impact on everything. And so my family did a little, my immediate family, my household, we did a Heritage Day on Friday where we had, a big feast of our own and kind of just did our own thing. The kids wanted to do that, and so I was happy to make that a new tradition for us. And so I love to be able to do that for them, right? Create new traditions. And so the last of the birds, I'm seeming to have a mess. So I switched to my silver liner brush, black velvet silver brush, because I was struggling with that Winsor Newton calligraphy brush. It was just a little too thick for me. I kept getting too big blobs. I don't have great control over little fine things like that. So for me, I definitely it wasn't working. And so if you have better control, I've seen people use rounds that can make better birds, and I can't even with a liner. So it is what it is. Paper peel, and that's about it. That wraps up our little 4 window. I hope you had fun. I hope you try it. I hope you put your own spin on it and do what you like and create things that make you happy. I'm just going to erase these. You can take this apart, and you can, sorry for all the bouncing. My camera holder is just all over the place. And you can cut these up, or you can leave it whole, like a little window. totally and absolutely up to you. And so thank you so much for joining me today. And I really, truly can't wait to see what you paint. And until then, I will see you next time. Bye.